Welcome to Virtual Learning Network. Foundation course in Humanities and Social Sciences, session number 8, Emerging Challenges. The topics that will be covered in this unit, in this session, are British legacy, communalism and other tensions, regionalism, regional imbalances, economic problems, education, democratic institutions. British legacy. The legacy of the British in terms of the unification of the India by a communication and transport infrastructure and rule of law was beset by a basic problem. The communication and transport infrastructure had been built to tap raw materials for the industries in England and to create a market for British manufactured goods in India. The administrative structure built by British had been to maintain law and order to facilitate British rule. Similarly, the administrative structure built by British had been to maintain law and order to facilitate the British rule. Indians needed the administrative structure to be responsive to the needs of development and progress of Indian democracy. भारत में ब्रिटिश लेजेसी की ज़रूरत थी ताकि भारत का प्रशासनिक ढांचा ज़्यादा रिस्पॉन्सिव हो सके और डेमोक्रेटिक डेवलपमेंट्स हो सके, लोकतांत्रिक विकास हो सके. Communalism and other tensions. An important contribution of Indian national movement had been to forge India's unity, cutting across class, caste, ethnic and religious divides. Hindus and Muslims, in face of higher challenge of colonialism, was undermined even whether major movements like non-cooperation and civil disobedience movements were withdrawn. In the post-colonial phase, with the growing social and economic insecurity, communalism reared its ugly head again. भारत में जैसा कि हम जानते हैं कि बहुत से धर्मों के लोग, बहुत से कास्ट, क्रीड, रिलीजन्स के लोग रहते हैं और यहाँ पर जैसा कि अंग्रेजों की नीति रही, फूट डालो राज करो, हिंदूज और मुस्लिम्स को एक बड़ी चुनौती थी कि वे अपने आप को एक कैसे करें. परंतु अलग अलग समुदायों, अलग अलग धर्मों से ताल्लुक रखने के बावजूद इन दोनों धर्मों ने एकता दिखाई और गांधी जी के नॉन कोऑपरेशन, सिविल डिसोबीडियंस जैसे मुख्य आंदोलनों में इन दोनों ही धर्मों ने एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई. दोनों ही धर्म एकजुट दिखाई दिए और कम्युनिज्म से ऊपर उठकर इन्होंने भारत की एकता, अखंडता को अक्षुण्ण रखा और भारत के विकास के लिए आगे आए। Regionalism. In the 1950s, regionalism was seen by many observers as major threat to Indian unity. The national movement functioned as an all-India movement and not as a federation of regional identity. It recognized both and not seeing the two in conflict. Some regional disputes do exist and they have the potential of stirring interstate hostility. These disputes tend to persist for a long time and occasionally arouse the passions. In the post-colonial phase, with growing social and economic changes, जो आर्थिक और सामाजिक बदलाव भारत ने देखे, उन सभी के बीच रीजनलिज्म भी आया, क्षेत्रवाद, और ये भारत की एकता के लिए खतरा था। पर राष्ट्रीय आंदोलनों ने, इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट्स ने सभी को एक करने में एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई और इन राष्ट्रीय आंदोलनों में सभी लोग, सभी धर्मों के लोग, सभी जाति, सभी समुदाय के लोग एक नजर आए। कुछ क्षेत्रीय विवाद रहे जिनको कि नेशनल मूवमेंट के दौरान नहीं होना चाहिए था, परंतु बाद में इन सभी को सेटल किया गया, इन सभी को सुलझा लिया गया। The next point is regional imbalance. However, the regional imbalance persists as a major challenge to the Indian nation in the form of economic disparities between different regions. Colonialism had created modern economic infrastructure according to its needs for the market and the raw materials. Secondly, the roots of these states' backwardness lies in their socio-economic and political organization itself. Bihar and Eastern UP did not have land reforms properly implemented. भारत के बहुत से क्षेत्रों में अब भी एक रीजनल इम्बैलेंस था, क्षेत्रीय असंतुलन था। ये क्षेत्रीय असंतुलन बहुत से कारणों से था। इसमें सबसे पहला था इकोनॉमिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, कॉलोनियलिज्म, और जिस तरह के सोशियो इकोनॉमिक चेंजेस, जिस तरह के सामाजिक आर्थिक सुधार भारत में चाहिए थे, उस तरह के सुधार हमें देखने को नहीं मिले। बिहार और ईस्टर्न यूपी में लैंड रिफॉर्म्स, भूमि सुधार जो थे वो ठीक तरीके से नहीं किए गए थे। रीजनल इम्बैलेंस का, क्षेत्रीय असंतुलन का यह एक मुख्य कारण बना। अब हम देखेंगे कि रीजनल इम्बैलेंसेस क्यों आए, इसके क्या कारण थे, and why has the challenge persisted? The major reason at an all India level has been the low rate of economic growth. भारत में आर्थिक जो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ था उसका बहुत ही स्लो होना, बहुत ही धीमा होना। The rate of economic growth in India in 1960s and 70s was about 3.5% and about 5% in the 80s. And this was not significant enough to impart regional equality. Despite the policies consciously designed to favor backward regions being followed. Secondly, the roots of these states' backwardness lies in their socio-economic and political organization itself. Bihar and Eastern UP, as we discussed, that did not have good land reforms. In Bihar and Orissa even, land consolidation like Punjab and Haryana have not taken place effectively. Thirdly, the backward states have a lower level of infrastructural facilities such as power, irrigation, roads, telephones, and modern market for agricultural produce. And fourthly, these states also have a lower level of social expenditure on education, public health, and sanitation. This low level of expenditure in turn leads to low level of production and therefore financial resources as well. And along with these things, political and administrative failure also bolsters the backwardness. Sheer bad administration and deteriorating law and order creates a bad atmosphere for the development. Next one is economic problems. What sort of economic problems India faced? Though India did undergo a degree of industrialization, भारत में औद्योगिकरण हुआ under colonialism, which was a result of struggle of the Indian industry to establish itself. This growth was relatively limited and stunted. जिस तरह का ग्रोथ, जिस तरह का विकास, जिस तरह का आर्थिक विकास हमें चाहिए था, नहीं मिला. The end result of colonial underdevelopment was pauperization of the people, especially the peasantry and artisans. Poverty, disease and hunger were the lot of the ordinary people. This resulted in a series of major famines all over India in second half, in fact, of the 19th century. Even after ending that colonial underdevelopment, population of people kept on going. भारत में गरीबी की एक दशा थी और बहुत ही दीनहीन अवस्था में लोग रह रहे थे, रोगों का शिकार थे, भूखमरी का शिकार थे और अच्छा इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, अच्छा इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट ना होने की वजह से 19th सेंचुरी में संपूर्ण भारत में सूखे और अकाल की सी स्थिति थी. Education. Education is seen as an important tool of social and economic progress, equilibration of opportunity, and building up a democratic society. The challenge at independence was how to go for a better and wider educational process and institutions. The national movement leaders, though educated in colonial educational institution, tried to take the message of education to the masses. भारतीय राष्ट्रीय आंदोलन में जितने भी लीडर्स ने, जितने भी नेताओं ने हिस्सा लिया था, सभी कॉलोनियल एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस में पढ़े थे। लेकिन उन्हें पता था कि जब तक हम एजुकेटेड नहीं होंगे, शिक्षित नहीं होंगे, हम सभी को एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर, एक स्तर तक नहीं ला सकते। और जब तक हम एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर सभी को नहीं लाएंगे, एकता की कमी होगी, हम आर्थिक रूप से पिछड़े रहेंगे अगर हमें शिक्षा का अभाव है तो। और पूरे भारत के सामने, संपूर्ण भारत के सामने यह एक बड़ी चुनौती थी कि इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद, पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस, एजुकेशनल लेवल, जो शिक्षा का स्तर था, उसको किस तरह से ऊंचा उठाया जाए। नेक्स्ट इज डेमोक्रेटिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस। The challenge of developing democratic institutions was another area in which the nascent nation had to struggle. The tradition of keeping the armed forces under a civilian command and preventing any growth towards militarization was firmly instituted by Nehru. To avoid possibility of armed forces intervening in the politics, he took several steps. He kept the size of armed forces relatively small, refusing to permit their expansion even after large-scale US military aid to Pakistan that began in 1954. The Congress itself functioned as a huge parliament where dissent and opposition was encouraged. In the years following independence, all these lessons were put to test. The Congress now emerged as the ruling party with the majority in many of the states. The opposition came in the form of movements which refused to accept the freedom as real. The Communist Party of India had launched a major struggle in Telangana which demanded full freedom for oppressed and toiling masses of India. Indeed, even after the communists changed their line and joined the parliamentary system, the opposition to Congress continued. A major black record in its legacy of civil liberties and democratic functioning was dismissal of the Communist Ministry of Kerala in 1959. All these were democratic changes taking place. उस समय इस तरह के लोकतांत्रिक बदलाव भारत में देखे गए। जगह जगह चुनाव हुए और उन चुनाव में कांग्रेस एक बड़ी रूलिंग पार्टी के रूप में उभरी, जिसने भारत के लगभग हर राज्य में शासन किया। लोगों ने उसको अपना प्रतिनिधि माना। But in spite of this, it must be said that Nehru treated the parliament with respect and made every effort to sustain its dignity. He tried to make it a major forum for expression of public opinion. The opposition too played its part actually by respecting the parliament and its procedures and keeping the parliamentary debates at a high level. The tradition of keeping the armed forces under a civilian command and preventing any growth towards militarization was firmly instituted by Nehru. To avoid the possibility of armed forces intervening in politics, he took several steps. भारतीय सेना का पॉलिटिक्स में इंटरवेंशन ना हो, हस्तक्षेप ना हो, इसके लिए नेहरू जी ने बहुत से कदम उठाए. He kept the size of the armed forces relatively small, refusing to permit their expansion even after large-scale US military aid to Pakistan began in 1954. Abandoning the British colonial practice of recruiting soldiers on the criteria of inherent martial classes, the armed forces were given a much more heterogeneous character with almost every region and section represented in them. भारत के हर क्षेत्र से लोगों को इसमें आने का मौका मिला, भारतीय आर्मी में, भारतीय सेना में. Now you have, at the end of this session, you have two questions to do. One is that you have to do yourself. What were the challenges facing India in building an administrative structure? What was regional imbalance and why has it persisted? Thank you. We learning, happy learning.